Hi, I'm Gerard Piqué. This is my leader's talk on how to change sports.
Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. I know you've been on an overnight flight, so we do appreciate you coming in, jetting in for this. I hope you've had plenty of coffee because we have got lots of questions about that product, which has challenged the sporting norm. So why did you do it?
Well, we started 18 months ago, more or less, when I retired. I decided to retire from professional football November 22, before the World Cup, Qatar World Cup. And in January 2023, we started this project, which at the end of the day, the idea was to use football, which is the most followed sport in the world, change a little bit the rules, put some crazy rules that people love, make it much more exciting, like very short, 40 minutes, where a lot of things are happening during the game. And at the same time, put all these streamers or creators of content that is the new trend is everyone is now following them and what they do. They have huge communities, very loyal to them, to all what they do. And we knew that by giving them the ownership of a team, will allow them to engage all their communities and bring them to the Kings League. This is how we did it. Obviously, it was much more successful than what we thought when we started the project. And right now we are facing expansion in different countries, different territories, and a lot of work to do.
So as a player then, had you spotted these gaps, or were there frustrations in you as a footballer looking on at the footballing landscape that there wasn't something like this? I just wonder what it was about it that made you come up with something so different.
Well, it's a mix of things. I mean, my last few years playing football, I was playing football, but at the same time I was not watching football. And this was kind of strange because it was my sport, is what I followed since I was a kid. But it's true that we are consuming different. Our kids, I like a lot to watch my kids, how they consume and what they do. And it's true that for them, traditional sports, not just football, but basketball, tennis, it's too long. And for them, I'm not saying they are not following the sports because they follow and they know everything what happened. But they don't watch 90 minutes or 2 hours and a half watching a tennis match. They consume in a tablet at the same time as the TV. After 15 minutes, they disconnect and they do other things. It's their way of consuming, and what we tried is to create a product that, as I said before, that it's very short in time, very exciting, and it's good for them in order to follow the whole competition.
So I don't know if there's anybody here who has watched the Kings League, knows how it works, but I'm sure there probably are people who don't. So what is the format, and what are some of the rules that you've changed?
Well, the format is, we started in Spain. It was like a closed league, very similar to NBA or MLS, no promotion, no relegation. 12 teams owned by, 10 of them owned by streamers, 2 of them owned by legends of the game, like Kun Agüero and Iker Casillas. And basically, at the end of the day, it's on Sunday. Every game is more or less 1 hour. It's 6 games because obviously it's 12 teams. So from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. every Sunday, we started like this in Spain. Then in May, we started Queen's League for the first time, which is happening on Saturdays also. And it's the same format with the same teams. And what we do is a regular season happening in a same venue, which is in Barcelona. And the finals, we do it in big stadiums. For example, the first one in March 2023, we did it in Camp Nou, which was 92,000 people, and everyone was saying, listen, you are crazy, how you will fill the stadium, and we sold out. Then the second final, we did it in Metropolitano, Atletico Madrid Stadium, and we sold out also, more than 60,000. And then in November, we did the third season, because at the end of the day, every season is like 2.5 months, more or less. We did it in Malaga, we sold out in half an hour, 30,000 tickets, and after that, we decided to bring this concept to other territories because we were seeing that the format was working. And then we decided to go to Mexico. We launched the Kings League Americas. We did the finals in Estadio Azteca, which we sold out. Then now in September we launched the Queens League also there. And the idea is for 2025 onwards to launch in different countries.
And it's interesting because you speak of that generation that so many businesses and sports are trying to connect with and sometimes find difficulty accessing. But they're very involved in the format and rules and decision making around it. Was that important?
This is very, very important. At the end of the day, what we try to do is to do exactly the opposite of what traditional football is doing. So the audience is the most important part of the product. And we ask them everything. Rules. Last thing we did is to ask them if they want the grass green or they wanted another color, and they prefer black, so we changed it to black. Yeah, any kind of rules. We have rules. Last 2 minutes of the game, we change the ball. Instead of a white ball, we put an orange ball. And if the team managed to score, the goal counts double. Or the last 2 minutes of the first half, we stop the game, we throw a big dice from the stand. And if it's 2, then the game becomes 2 versus 2 for 2 minutes. So it becomes like pretty wild. People love that, for example. So it's a mix of traditional football with a video game. And this is why this young audience, they love about our product. We have 85% of our audience lower than 34 years of age. So it's a very, very young audience that they really want to be part of Kings League and to change the rules, the time that the games have to be played. I mean, they decide everything.
And it was interesting, one of the phrases that popped up in that video was pure show. And that kind of gets to the heart of it as well, doesn't it? But sometimes in sport, you want show, but you're trying to hold on to the traditions and everything that makes that sport.
Yeah, we believe that now more than ever, sports have to be entertainment. It's not possible that you don't entertain yourself watching any sports because it will not succeed. 20 years ago was different because on TV you just had football and that's it. But right now, football or any sport is not competing against the other sports. They are competing against Netflix, HBO, Amazon. They are competing against Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. And for kids, those are much more exciting right now because it's videos of 60 seconds and they can change every 30 seconds if they don't like it. Traditional sport, I totally get it, and I understand that, I mean, federations are the ones ruling and I mean, choosing the rules and to change those are very difficult for them because obviously there is a lot of people working on it, but at some point there has to be some modernization because if not, all these young kids that are growing, it will be more difficult for them to watch live sports. And the best example is my kids or even myself. Last year I consider that I follow the NBA season. I watch 0 games, but in my inside, I feel that I follow the whole competition. I know the final, I know what happened during the playoff, I know the big stars. Why? Because you consume the highlights, you watch on Twitter, on Instagram, you see what the other friends comment about different players and different teams. So it's like you consume the product, but you are not watching anymore because, in my case, it's because it's at 3 a.m. in the morning. If not, I would love to watch games of the NBA. But it's a different way of consuming the sports.
And in that way, when you're coming in as a disruptor of sorts, there surely was a lot of pushback towards this product.
Well, as you can imagine, it wasn't easy, and people were considering, some of them, that that we were trying to go against football, or that. And since the beginning, what we said is that we are complementary. We are trying to create a product that any kid can watch Kings League and at the same time can follow football or traditional football as the way we understand. So it's just another way of consuming another kind of a sport that, as I said, it's a sport, but at the same time it's entertainment, it's show, it has to be, and that I think that it works so far.
And do you see the two of them being able to feed into each other? If you say it can be, you know, a collaboration of sorts, or that they're not competitive, how do you think they could feed into the different ecosystems?
Well, at the end of the day, in a way, it's football. So it's true that traditional football or wherever. In our case, for example, we started in Spain. So let's put the example of La Liga. La Liga is, I mean, in Spain, everything is about football, is about what happens with La Liga. When we started, I remember the president of La Liga, Javier Tebas, which some of you might know, he said publicly that we were a circus and that in 6 months we will be out of the market. So we said, okay, it's fine. Next week we brought a clown in the pitch, and it took the mask, and it was Kun Agüero wearing the clown dress, and he played the game. And last month, after more than 18 months, we talked with Javier Tebas and we said, listen, you want to participate on this new video that we're launching the new season, and we want you to do a little cameo and say that you said after 6 months we will be done and we are still here, and he accepted. So as we started, it was more tricky. Right now, I think that we get along well. I have very good relationship with Javier, and he, in fact, participated in that video, and it was quite cool. So, yeah, when you disrupt, sometimes you create this kind of tension, but it's fine. Now it's fine.
Does it motivate you?
Sorry?
Does it motivate you? Comments like that about it being a circus, does that make you more determined to make sure this works then?
Yeah, I mean, if you're a professional player, you need to compete all the time. And when I retired, I need to compete somehow. So it's the kind of motivation is to try to compete. And when I was a player, I love to play away of home because you have everyone against you. And it's a little bit similar when we started with Kings League. Now it's different. It's already 18 months. We kind of established ourselves. We have already 4 leagues, and we created the first World Cup in Mexico, which it was in June. So now it's kind of different, but at that time, it really motivates me to keep going.
So talk to us about the model then, and the governance and structure of this. You're looking to expand. How does that all work?
Well, I think that this is one of the biggest advantages that we have, because if you see traditional football, the pyramid, you have FIFA, then you have UEFA, and all the federations, then you have the leagues, then you have the players. Here, we control everything. And it's very easy for us to move and to change rules and to create new competitions. And this is one of the big advantages that we have, that we can be very quick. And when we see that something is not working, we change it immediately. So how it works, basically, we are the ones being FIFA as a way, but also we are UEFA, and also we are the league. So we control most of everything. Even we pay the players. So we are in a model that the streamers, they just have to stream, which at the end of the day is what they know what to do. And in order to manage their franchise, what we created now is a team to help them to develop and really to focus the franchise not just on what happened on Sunday, but during the whole season, because obviously they have sponsors, they have content to create and so on, and we help them a lot.
Yeah, so a franchise is a streamer, content creator, influencer, kind of taking charge of the franchise, and where do the footballers come from?
Well, so basically how we start the league is when we have the streamers that are the owners or the presidents of the clubs, we use their communities. We tell them to send a link to their community and to say, listen, whoever wants to participate to Kings League, just send us your information, name, surname, where did you play in the past, and maybe a little video of 1 minute of you playing. We receive thousands of applications. We have a sporting team inside Kings League that decides which are the best ones with that information. We bring them to do a couple of tryouts, and we choose the best 120 that they enter in a draft. And then before starting the season, the 12 presidents, we do a draw. You are pick number 1, pick number 2, pick number 3, very similar to the NBA or American sports, and they choose the players. All the players are paid by the league. We have different tiers depending on when you are picked. And yeah, they choose the players. The squad is 13 players, 10 of them coming from the draft. Then we give them the option of have 3 players that we consider franchise players that they can negotiate. I don't know, for example, Ronaldinho came to play 1 game, or Pirlo, or Shevchenko, and they negotiate with the players to bring them and play. And those players, they have to pay for them, because obviously if one day they want to bring Messi, is up to the streamer. We will not pay for him.
That was going to be my next question.
But yeah, mostly, I mean, we pay for mostly everything. So really, for the streamer, the model is very good, because they don't have any nightmare producing the shirts. For example, we do it for them. We sell all the merchandising. We give them a percentage of the profits. I mean, we do mostly everything for them, and they just have to take care of doing what they are best at it, which is stream the games.
What do you think the footballers get from it?
Well, I mean, I think that for the footballers that participate in Kings League is a big platform for them. You have to think that these players that are coming to play for Kings League, they are unknown players that they played in Tier 4, Tier 5 in Spain, and all of a sudden they became famous, like very famous, in a way that, I don't know, Adidas, for example, that is our global partner, the launch of the last model of boots, instead of using Pedri or Ter Stegen, which are the main assets that they have in Football Club Barcelona, they use players of Kings League in their flagship store in Adidas, and all the kids came to watch them. So it's true that we are not paying big salaries, I would say. We are not professional yet in that case, but they have a big platform where they become like stars in a way. They can create their own Twitch account, TikTok account, YouTube account, and they can monetize their channels. And we help them a lot to do that.
And you mentioned some of the great footballing names that are also involved in it. What do they tell you about their experiences within it?
They love, in fact, some of them they want to repeat, and some of them they want to be part of it by owning a team. And this is what's happening. In the next few weeks we will announce Brazil or Italy, and you will see that a lot of legends are part of our ecosystem, being owners of those teams. And for example, we launched the first World Cup of clubs in June in Mexico, where basically the best teams of the ecosystem participate in the competition, and players like Totti, like Hazard, they played and they had a great time, although it was in Mexico and they had to travel long trips in order to arrive there and play, but they had a very good time.
Any names you can give us, any exclusives? Go on.
You know what? In this world that we live, to create hype and all of a sudden one day to make a big splash, it what really works. If now I tell you a couple of names, I mean, people will know, it will get leaked, and it will not be. We will not have the impact that we want, but I can tell you is great names.
Interesting stuff. We're getting some questions in, so I will feed in some of these into the conversations as well. The Leaders app is where you can go to put your questions in. Somebody has asked here about kind of the broadcast platforms, and I know you've talked about the streaming model and finding the newer audiences, the younger audiences in different way. They say you've developed the product to be digital first on YouTube and Twitch. What role, if any, does traditional broadcast TV play in the product?
Well, we are open to have these discussions. For us, it's very important right now to really invest in the IP and to be in as many devices and as many TVs as possible, so we can have as much reach as possible. And by being in Twitch, YouTube, or TikTok, which is free to air, for us it's perfect to arrive to that audience. If we can arrive to different deals with traditional platforms in order to do some kind that it's not exclusive for them, because we have to keep this part of streaming, for us it's fine, and it's another way of arriving to more people. But right now we are not trying to find the big check to get some money in order to sell our rights to different kind of platforms. For us, our main focus, at least for these first years, is, as I said, to invest on the IP and really to try to become global, and as many people as possible can watch us better.
And what sort of traction do you get then in the likes of YouTube and Twitch? How do you measure the success in that?
Well, measure success it's very difficult. At the end of the day, I put myself 18 months ago and I say, listen, what I want from Kings League, and I just wanted to create a platform where unknown players can play and can compete, and you have these streamers with their communities that they can have a team and enjoy some time. I think that we really succeed on that. And now, regarding the numbers, I mean, the numbers, if you compare in Spain with La Liga, for example, we have a lot of games that have more audience than La Liga games in Spain. It's true that La Liga is in pay-per-view and we are free-to-air, but this gives you a little bit the numbers that we are managing. In Mexico, the same. If you compare us with the Mexican league, most of our games have more audience than their games. So this is what we want, to arrive to as many people as possible. We are not focusing right now on revenues. 65% of our revenues come from sponsorship. From TV is very little, and we want to focus really on building a big audience that in the future maybe we can explore other options regarding TV.
So how is that revenue working then? You know, traditionally in startups, you know, it can take a while to build and develop.
Yeah, in terms of revenues, I mean, the good thing is that from the beginning, big brands like, I don't know, Adidas, Spotify, McDonald's, Netflix, I mean, they jump into the project, they had trust in us, and as I said, the big portion of revenues right now is coming from a sponsorship. Then there are obviously, as the usual, sports events, ticketing. We have a part of it, merchandising. We have something on TV. You monetize your channels in Twitch, in TikTok, in YouTube. So yeah, I could say that now with the expansion that we are facing in terms of revenues, we are growing every year a lot. From 2023 to 2024, we doubled or even more, and 2025 the idea is to treble those numbers again. So we are increasing a lot in terms of revenues, but as I said, right now what we really want to focus on is on our IP to be known as much as possible worldwide.
But you must feel that long term, 10 years, 15, 20, 30 years, that there is scope, you know, if you're in business, that there's scope for a profit in this.
No, for sure. We are lucky that since day one we are profitable, and this is one of the things that right now in the businesses that we are seeing. It's difficult first year, second year. You normally start to be profitable third or fourth year. We were very lucky because we started with very low expectations. It exploded really. And since day one we are profitable. It's true that we did around at the start of the year of 60 million from two funds from the US and Mexico, and the idea with that investment is to expand into different countries, that when you arrive to a territory, obviously you have to create the team and you have some cost at the start, but in terms of profitability we are fine.
A couple of questions in here are referring to target markets, how you decide where you think the successful markets could be for you to continue the expansion.
Yeah, we focus mostly in territories that they love football and that streaming is huge. For example, Brazil is a perfect one. Brazil football is a religion. 7 versus 7, which is our concept, is a big wall there because there is official competitions and so on. So there are a lot of players that are focused on the 7 versus 7, and the streaming wall is also very big. So Brazil, I would say, is the perfect market that we, as I said, we are launching next month, and Well, I will give you a name. Neymar, for example, will have a team, but it's already known, so this is why. But I wanted to give you a little bit the level of legends that are involved in this case in the ownership of the teams. Italy, for example, is another example that we are launching pretty soon. France, for example, in terms of streaming, they are very developed, and also, I mean, they love football. So this is the kind of countries that we are targeting. It's obvious that we cannot launch 20 countries in 1 year because we don't arrive, but the idea for 2025 is to launch 7-8 countries. So at the end of 2025, we will be in 10 different countries with 2 World Cups. We have a World Cup happening now in January, where the nations are playing, so Spain versus France. Then the best players of each league are chosen by the audience to represent their country. So it's kind of cool, and the audience really feel committed and engaged to the competition. And then we have another World Cup in June, which is, instead of nations, it's the best clubs in the world, which it's pretty similar to what Champions League is in traditional football.
A question here, obviously we're in the UK. What about English legends, teams and stadiums being involved in the Kings League? Is there a similar appetite here?
Sorry again?
Is there what about English legends, teams and stadiums being involved in the Kings League?
Well, in UK and England, it's a tough market that we have to see how we approach, because you love football so much that in a way, at the end of the day, Super League didn't happen because England. So
is that then
I'm worried about England, and I'm joking, but let's see how we face this country, because Super League didn't happen because of that. So I don't know. At the moment, for example, in the World Cup of Clubs, Rio Ferdinand participating in one team with the English club that participate there. Obviously, I played here for 4 years, when I was 17 until 21 with Manchester United, and I have a lot of friends that I was teammates with them. At the right time, we will come here. First, I want to focus in other strategic territories.
So does it need a little bit of kind of work and maybe pushing the boundaries a little bit more before something as disruptive maybe as this comes in?
Maybe we prefer to go to the US first. That I know that there is. When we started in Spain, 12 teams, as I said, we started with 12 teams. 3 of them were from South America. So we had 1 Mexican, 1 Colombian, and 1 Argentinian, which is Kun Agüero. So we wanted to mix Spain and center South America, Latin America, in a way. So we want to create something similar for the US and UK, and kind of create one league with the 2 territories.
Another question here. What do you think traditional leagues and the world of football can learn from Kings League?
Well, I don't know. I mean, we try to create our product. I really believe that traditional leagues and traditional football, they are trying to evolve and to modernize the product. I totally get it that it's difficult for them, because it's a very traditional sport that every little thing that you change, it's difficult, and some of the audience maybe will not accept it. But in a way, in the future, I'm sure that they will do it. I don't know how. I've seen, I don't know, a few months ago that FIFA was thinking, for example, to create not a yellow card or a red card, but a card that the player can be out for 5 minutes and come back. This is what we do in Kings League. So I'm sure that there will be different rules in the future that football can improve. And not because they are using Kings League, because at the end of the day, I think that they have to do it.
Interested in Queen's League as well, that you mentioned. How has that compared? Is it similar, the trajectory, the growth, the interest, or are there differences?
Yeah, it's very similar, and it's surprising because Queen's League have right now 40% of the audience that Kings League have. So if you compare to traditional football, that I think it's much lower, it's a great success. When we started Queen's League, we really did it because we believed that as quick as possible we had to create Queen's League after the success of the Kings League. And everyone in our community really accepted the product, and it's, I would say, very followed. We have our own stars that right now, for example, tomorrow I'm going to Tenerife because we are playing the finals there in December, and I'm going to do a press conference with politics and so on. And we are bringing the best player of kings and the best player of queens. I would say that the best player of queens is very well known in the territory, and I'm sure that a lot of kids will go and support her. So we pay the same to Kings League players and Queens League players, and we try really to equal both products so they are just one.
And how do you see that expansion growing as well as the Kings League?
Normally we arrive to a territory, we create we launch Kings League, and after the first split, which is the first season, 2 months and a half, then we launch Queens League. Just because we want first to test that everything is good. It's a lot of work, so we do it like this. But after 1 year, the idea is to have both competitions in every territory.
Interesting question coming in here about you being able to target this younger generation, and they're asking, how do you motivate kids and young football players to do sport and not just watch the football matches? It's such a big part, isn't it, of keeping them healthy?
Yeah, it's a very important part because it's true that now there is a lot of people consuming a lot of things on the internet, and streaming, for example, is an example that people is watching all day the PCs, the computers or TVs or phones, and people need to do sports. So in a way, I think that Kings League can motivate kids. In fact, we create different games where, I didn't explain to you, but we have like secret weapons during the game. There is a card that the coach takes before. There is a big box that is Spotify branded, and before the game starts, the coach takes one card, and it's a good thing for the team. Strategically, they use it whenever they want. It can be a penalty for them, it can be a red card for the other team, and the audience don't know about it, and they use it whenever they want. So it's very video game, as I told you before. So we launch a game for kids where they have these cards, they have the white ball, the orange ball, they have the dice, they have everything, so they can compete in the schools or with their friends in the streets, and it's very easy to do it, really. So it's a way of promoting and motivating those kids to really practice sport, and in this case, football.
I'm sure nothing is off the charts in terms of expansion and development, but you talk about young kids there and playing the game. Do you have plans for academies or anything down the line? Like, how does this ecosystem work?
We have plans for everything. Academy is one of them. Another one is jumping maybe to other sports, because at the end of the day, the concept works. But we have 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We cannot create more hours. The team is really busy. We are 150 people right now, and growing a lot. And really, we are trying to do as much as we can. And as I said, this academy is one of the projects that we have in our heads, because what we want is really to create our own stars. We believe that 7 versus 7 with our rules is a completely different sport than 11 versus 11. We've seen a lot of legends coming to play our game, and very difficult for them to really play well. They have to adapt, they need time, and obviously at the end of the day they have a lot of quality and they can manage to play well. But it's a different sport, and we really want to create our own stars. So by creating an academy, if we have the kids really playing 7 versus 7 with our rules, I think that they can become big stars in the future, and they can go to the draft. So little by little, we are just 18 months alive.
So in this magical world and the future where there's an academy, you're back to being a young boy. Which do you pick?
I don't know. I don't know, really.
Can you do both?
Sorry?
Can you do both? For the future football stars in 20 years' time, will there be a choice to be made between these two?
I don't know. Of course, football for me has been all my life, and I would never. I don't want to change anything of my career, because I was lucky to win all the trophies. But in the future, we really want Kings League to become something very big. And when you're a kid, at the end of the day, you have to choose whatever you are more happy with. So either it's traditional football, if it's Kings League, They choose whatever they enjoy playing, and at the end of the day, they have to do sport. That this is what we were talking before. So
Yeah, it all comes back to that enjoyment, doesn't it?
exactly.
A couple of things just before we finish. We've about 5 minutes left, so if anybody does want to get another question in, I am monitoring them. You mentioned other sports. Any other sports where you feel they might be ripe for a Kings League?
It can be any sport. At the end of the day, traditional sports, the way I see it, is sports that have worked incredibly well and they have incredible stories to tell and a big history. But you can create, using those sports, different concepts that are much quicker, much interesting, much exciting. In basketball, for example, now there is this 3 versus 3 that they created for the Olympics that work incredibly well. I've been there in the Olympic Games in Paris with my kids, and I saw those games, and the atmosphere that you saw there was incredible. So at the end of the day, is trying to think out of the box a little bit and creating new concepts.
If you were the king of football for one day, this question is a good one from
What
the
does it
audience.
mean, the king of football?
The king of football. You're in charge of everything, everything, all leagues, all territories, the whole world of football. What one thing would you change?
Well, I think that there are so many games. There are too much games. And we are seeing now players kind of saying, listen, we are getting injured. There are games every 3 days. We don't have time to rest in summer. As I said, it's very difficult for traditional football to do different change because it's very fractured. You have FIFA that has different interests than UEFA, that have different interests than the leagues. The leagues want more games. UEFA wants more games also to have more revenues. The same for FIFA. And at the end of the day, the ones that are playing more are the football players, which in a way they have bigger salaries because they are generating more. But I think that for the audience to have too many games at the end of the day is not exclusive anymore. And what you really want is unique things to happen. This is why Euros, World Cups are working so well, or finals of Champions League, or these kind of things. Leagues, it's difficult to follow because it's 20 teams, it's 38 games, and people, as I said, they have so much offer that it's difficult for this new young audience to follow everything. So I would suggest to reduce the games. Go to the leagues and say, listen, instead of 20 teams, why you don't do leagues of 16 teams?
So you would take it from the leagues?
No, and at the same time, I would go to UEFA and say, why you create this Nations League, which is the new competition that it's difficult to follow. And I would go to FIFA and say, okay, don't do this FIFA World Cup of clubs that you created now. Because at the end of the day, they are creating new competitions, which I totally get it. I mean, I understand that they want to generate more revenues, but for the sake of football, I think that it would be much better to have less games, more premium and more exclusive. And it will be much more easy also to follow us from the audience point of view. And for players, it will be less games. So, but the thing is that no one wants to do less games. I mean, you go to Premier League or La Liga and say, reduce the league to 16. No chance. Why? Because I will have less games, TV will pay less. And the same for UEFA, the same for FIFA. So to put them all together in a table and instead of thinking of themselves, to try to think for the sake of the sport. And this is utopic. This is very difficult to happen. It's impossible, but it's what I would do if I'm the king of football for one day.
Before we go, I do have to ask you, we've had big news here in England today. We've had the announcement already. I was reading it backstage about Thomas Tuchel being the new England manager. I wonder what you make of that and whether you think that will finally bring a trophy to the England football team.
I hope that you can win again.
Do you?
Yeah, really. Not the final of the Euros because it was against Spain, but against other national team, I would prefer England to win. I don't know, it was a big surprise. I think it's a great name to have. I had Pep Guardiola in Barcelona. I know that he's very special, and I know that some of you were thinking on him. But Tuchel, I think, is a great name. So let's let's push for him, and I hope that you, as I said before, you can win in the future more trophies.
Does that mean we're going to see you in England jersey in the stadium supporting the team if you're...
I don't know if I will arrive at this point, but from home I support the England team for sure if Spain is not involved.
And just finally on that, what do you think the difference is, international football management to club management, and maybe the challenges that Tuchel will find?
Well, it's very different because when you manage a club every day during the whole year, you are in contact with the players, you train, you play games every 3-4 days. With the national team, it's much different. You disconnect, all of a sudden you connect for a couple of weeks, you disconnect again, and this is difficult for players, for the mindset, but also for the coach. So I think that Tuchel will have to adapt to that.
Amazing stuff. Gerard, thank you so much for your time here this morning.